I wasn't actually even at the first story yet. I was in that introductory, extensive intro of adjective, what I describe as adjective hell, with all due respect to the author. I think she's an incredibly talented writer, but I felt like I was swimming in adjective soup.
But sure, like once the story started, like the doll in the pocket one.
Oh yeah, I love that.
Good.
I'm like, okay, I can get into this, maybe.
Yeah, I love the stories.
That's how I wasn't into it at all. And I went and actually just read the stories and then went back. Like, I haven't read the whole thing. I've just read the first bit.
So the stories, I agree, they got me, but they didn't keep me. But now that I'm considering it while you guys discuss it, I think it was the analysis that lost me, because the analysis is like beating you over the head. I understand what she's saying. I get it. I agree even, but I'm like, stop saying it now. Stop telling me for 25 more pages. I have to go to the next story. So it spoke to me. It's weird. Like, it spoke to me through all my feelings, and I didn't need so many words. And then I was going to say, like, there should be 2 books, the stories, and then the companion book with, if you wish to hear my analysis. But
there is an audiobook that isn't the whole book. So it's a condensed version of the book. So it's the stories and a condensed analysis of the stories, but not the whole thing. Because one of the book groups I follow, that's what when someone said, she said, she wishes there was actually a book that matched the audiobook because it is not so all engrossing.
I wonder if the audiobook is the outcome of the feedback that we kind of generally, as a sextet, what are we? A sextet? A sextet?
Is that what it's
so
called?
as a sextet, we generally agree.
Yeah, not spelled S-I-X. It's spelled
Not a
Full-blown S-E-X.
sex, Ted.
Yeah.
So we got options, just saying.
Yeah.
If
So
doing
it's
a book club
literally
doesn't pull in the fans, we got options, girls.
Book interrupted. How about work as an interruption? I don't want to work on New Year's Day and get up at 5 a.m. That interrupted me. Not with my New Year's festivities, like you might think, but with my binge watching shows festivities. And the show that I'm binge watching is a book that I might pick should I get another opportunity to pick a book in our club. So, stay tuned. Book interrupted.
Has like a story in it about this woman who goes to Chicago and then she marries the perfect husband and moves in a perfect farmhouse and have the perfect amount of kids and blah, blah, blah. But she never does this trip to Chicago anymore where she wears these fancy clothes and this big hat and window shops. And then one day she like cleans her kitchen floor and blows her brain out with a shotgun. And I was like, when I listened to KJ's playlist pick, Florence and the Machine, one of the lyrics is basically like something like happiness. What was it? Happiness was like a bullet in the back or something like that. And but I felt like it's so related to the book so much because it made me think of that little sub story within the Bluebeard story about how it's like the killing of the soul. Because she never had time once she was living this perfect life to do the thing that actually made her happy. Do you know what I mean? So
The creative life.
Right, and I think music is a really great way for people to express how, or at least connect to, like, even if you're not doing creative things in your life, hearing the music of people being like, when you do these things that are like on a train track in life, then you're going towards like the death of your soul.
It's the easily dismissible items are in fact the absolute items that we need to make time for. Otherwise, it is a slippery slope. And you find yourself like that woman that you described, Sarah, one day being like, I have a good enough life, so why the fuck do I have this gun barrel pointed at myself, right? It's because it's not a full life. You're not actually living.
This is like 2 books back to back of same energy. I haven't started the next book, but this book is like, whew, it's like this whole process, if we keep reading books like this, is going to end in like divorced women's book club. It makes me grumpy at my husband. This book makes me mad at him.
It's so
Feel
funny.
grumpy.
The playlist, I've been listening to the playlist a lot and then realized that sometimes I would get super grumpy and like snap a little comment being like, I don't understand why this is my job.
Balance.
So then I was like,
playlist.
I'm gonna
would too. We're
listen.
so the same.
Yeah,
do
you
you?
can't be listening to
No
like
way.
shit,
called
all
something
female artists, like just I'm a strong ass bitch.
Yeah.
And then
And you
like,
hang the
and
laundry
all,
dry.
like over and over and expect to like go home and be like, you do the dishes, motherfucker.
They're
One of my
incredible.
favorites is that I just want to recommend before we move on is Fiona Apple's album Fetch the Bolt Cutters, and the whole album is fabulous. And in her own words, this is how she describes what Fetch the Bolt Cutters means. She says it's about breaking out of whatever prison you've allowed yourself to live in, whether you built that prison for yourself or whether it was built around you and you just accepted it. And I think this is kind of what Women Who Run with the Wolves is about. Like,
Yeah.
we either imprison ourselves or we just accept the world that's been set up for us, and you just can't be happy when you're imprisoned.
This, I'll just like, spoiler alert, this is a theme. So anyway, but this book lifts a veil that's like, you can choose your standards, and if nobody else likes them, it doesn't even matter. Like,
Yeah.
you can decide. So some people are like, wow, when they're like, yeah, and they're like released from their cage because they didn't even know it was there and they love it. And other people are like, yeah, I freaking knew it or whatever, because they maybe had an inkling or already questioned some things or whatever. And then still others are like, duh, welcome to the club, Clarissa. Like, I already knew. I do my own thing or whatever, right? So that kind of informs people's response to this book about where they are in their
Yeah.
lives.
There's like kind of an irony here too, because one of the things that that turns me off about the book is specifically that it's for women. It's like women who run with the wolves. And this book is good for anybody. Like, you don't have to conform to the stereotype that you're in. I'm just living my own reality. I don't want to be categorized. You know,
You're gonna so love the next book in the lineup, by the way. It was literally written for you.
Feels really outdated to me. I feel like but it was written in 1992. So we have changed a lot in our views of the way that people fit into some sort of category, or if you have to.
While it is delivered in this kind of binary way, the ultimate message isn't like men versus women or masculine versus feminine. I feel like it's like people versus society.
a similar book that's like for men.
Yeah.
Being like, it's okay to have more than 2 emotions, which are, because like, in general, men are allowed to be either happy or mad.
Yeah.
Those are
Or
the only
horny.
2 that they're allowed in the patriarchy.
Okay, 3.
That might be a good
Don't
idea.
forget about horny.
Yeah.
It might be a great idea for more books to do a really male perspective book choice would be probably a great idea.
That would be great.
Or to get a man's perspective.
Yeah. I want to learn
Interesting.
more about the conditioning of the male species.
It's also different where you live, first of all, Toronto versus a smaller town. And also, I mean, Laird's in theater and grew up, he's a lighting designer, my partner, and he is super sensitive. He cries at more movies than I do. He, when he's sad, he cries. When he's, he takes time for himself. He does all those things. And I think that was taught through, through the theater process of showing your emotion through, he grew up in Montreal and Quebec. And I think that in Quebec, oftentimes males are more comfortable with their emotions. And, and being in Toronto, I feel like, I don't know what you guys think.
I was going to say, I think it kind of boils down to what's valued. And we can make broad statements about men and women, but Lindsay with her partner offers an example of someone who was brought up through theater, and in theater being able to emote is valued.
My body is information without being disrupted. Mind, body, and soul.